The massive ship appeared in Earth's orbit without warning. One moment the skies were clear, and the next, a vessel larger than anything humans had ever built hung silently above the planet. Global defense systems went into high alert. Military, bases around the world scrambled fighters. News channels interrupted regular broadcasts to show the strange craft that glowed with a soft blue light. Major Matthew Ridgway stared at the live feed on the wall screen of the Space Force Command Center. At 42, he had served in Earth's military for over 20 years. But nothing in his experience had prepared him for this moment. First contact with an alien civilization. "Sir, the President is requesting your presence at the emergency meeting," said Lieutenant Eric Powell, his communications specialist. The young officer's face was pale, but his voice remained steady. "Tell them I'm on my way," Ridgway replied, straightening his uniform. He grabbed his tablet and headed for the door. Captain Allison Wade fell in step beside him as they walked quickly down the corridor. "What do you think they want?" Wade asked. Her brown hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and worry lines creased her forehead. "No idea," Ridgway said. "But they didn't start shooting, so that's something." The emergency meeting took place in a secure room beneath the White House. World leaders joined through video calls. Scientists and military officials sat around a large table, talking over each other until the president entered. "Ladies and gentlemen," the president said, "we've received a transmission from the vessel. They wish to meet with Earth representatives." Dr. Samuel Green, the government's top xenobiologist, leaned forward. "Did they give any indication of their intentions?" "They said they come in peace," the president replied. "They call themselves the Galactic Council." Ridgway frowned. Something about the situation felt wrong to him. "Madam President, we should proceed with caution. This could be a trick." General Patricia Winters nodded in agreement. "Major Ridgway is right. We need a security team with the diplomatic group." The president looked at Ridgway. "Major, I want you to lead the security detail. Your experience with difficult negotiations will be valuable." 3 hours later, Ridgway stood in a hangar watching the arrival of the alien shuttle. The small craft landed gracefully on the runway. Its surface shimmered like oil on water, changing colors as it moved. The diplomatic team waited nervously. Dr. Green checked his translation device one last time. Captain Wade positioned her security team around the perimeter, hands resting on their weapons. The shuttle's door slid open without a sound. A tall, slender figure stepped out. It walked on 2 legs but had 4 arms. Its skin was blue-gray and seemed to shimmer in the light. Large black eyes dominated a face with no visible nose, just breathing slits on the side of its head. "Greetings, humans," the alien said through a device around its neck. "I am Ambassador Krizex of the Galactic Council. We come with peaceful intentions." The president's representative stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador. We are honored to be the first humans to meet beings from another world." The initial meeting went smoothly. The aliens, who called themselves Tholians, explained that they represented a group of 50 species who governed this part of the galaxy. They talked about trade, cultural exchange, and technology sharing. They invited the human delegation to visit their main ship. Ridgway listened carefully but said little. He noticed small inconsistencies in the Tholians' story. They avoided specific questions about their government structure. They changed the subject when asked about other species who had joined the council recently. "Major, you look troubled," Dr. Green said as they boarded the shuttle to visit the alien vessel. "Something doesn't add up," Ridgway replied quietly. "They're too eager to bring us aboard their ship." The council vessel was enormous inside. Corridors stretched for miles. Rooms opened into gardens with plants from 100 worlds. The Tholians showed the humans their technology, their art, their medicine. They explained that Earth was being evaluated for protected status within the council. While the main group listened to a Tholian explain their faster-than-light drive, Ridgway noticed a door that seemed out of place. Unlike the other openings which glowed with blue light, this one was dark gray and unmarked. He slipped away from the group. Years of military training had taught him how to move silently. The door wasn't locked. It slid open at his touch, Inside was a large room filled with clear containers. Ridgway stepped closer and felt his blood freeze. Inside each container was a human floating in blue liquid. They appeared to be sleeping or unconscious. Men, women, even children. Dozens of them. He pulled out his tablet and quickly took pictures. As he moved deeper into the room, he found more containers. Some held humans with tubes connected to their bodies. Others showed signs of medical procedures. "What are you doing here?" The voice came from behind him. Ridgway turned to see Ambassador Krizek standing in the doorway. The alien's forearms were now holding devices Ridgway hadn't seen before. "What is this place?" Ridgway demanded. "Why do you have humans here?" "Research specimens," Krizek said. "All species must be studied before integration." "These are kidnapped people," Ridgway said, his hand moving toward his weapon. "You've been taking humans." "For many years," Krizek admitted. "Your species has unique qualities we find valuable. The evaluation was merely a formality. Earth will not receive protected status. It will become a resource world." Ridgway drew his gun, but Krizek's was faster. A blue light shot from one of the alien's devices. Ridgway dove behind a container as the energy beam hit the wall behind him. "Security breach in Section 7. Krizek called into a communication device. "The humans have discovered the harvesting chambers." Ridgway knew he had to warn Earth. He fired his weapon at a panel on the wall. Sparks flew and alarms began to sound. In the confusion, he ran past Krizek and back toward the shuttle bay. He could hear shouting behind him. The diplomatic team was being rounded up by Tholian security forces. Captain Wade saw him and understood immediately from his expression that something had gone terribly wrong. "Get to the shuttle," she shouted to him. "I'll hold them off." Wade and 2 security officers provided covering fire as Ridgway raced for the shuttle. He reached it just as Tholian forces entered the bay. The pilot was still aboard. "We need to leave now," Ridgway ordered, showing his command insignia. "But the others?" the pilot protested. "They've been taken prisoner," Ridgway said, powering up the systems. "We have to warn Earth." As the shuttle pulled away from the massive ship, Ridgway saw more Council vessels appearing in Earth orbit. The quarantine was beginning. He looked down at his tablet with the evidence he'd gathered. The Galactic Council had made a critical mistake. They hadn't expected humanity to fight back. They especially hadn't expected Major Matthew Ridgway, and he was just getting started. The military bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains buzzed with activity. 1 week had passed since the Galactic Council ships appeared in Earth's orbit. 1 week since Major Matthew Ridgway had escaped with evidence of their true intentions. Ridgway hadn't slept much. Dark circles hung under his eyes as he stared at the large screen showing the alien ships surrounding Earth. More arrived each day. Soon the quarantine would be complete. "Major General Winters is ready for you," said Lieutenant Powell, who had remained loyal to Ridgway despite pressure from officials who wanted to surrender to the Council. Ridgway nodded and gathered his materials. The underground command center was the last secure place to plan Earth's defense. Council technology had already disabled most satellite communications and was blocking signals between continents. General Patricia Winters waited in the conference room with military leaders from around the world. Some attended through secure video links that still functioned. Her gray hair was cut short and her face showed the strain of the past week. "Major Ridgway, please share what you've learned," she said. Ridgway connected his tablet to the main display. Images of the unconscious humans in the alien containers appeared on screen. Several people gasped. "The Galactic Council isn't here to welcome us," Ridgway said. "They've been abducting humans for years. The diplomatic meeting was just a cover to assess our defenses." He showed more images of documents he'd managed to download during his escape. "I've been working with Dr. Olivia Ross to translate their language. The Council has done this before to 12 other species. All are now enslaved. Their planet stripped of resources." A man in a civilian suit spoke up. "This is outrageous. We should negotiate. Surely there's some misunderstanding." "Secretary Carlton, with respect, there's no misunderstanding," Ridgway replied. "The Council sees Earth as a resource to be harvested and humans as experimental subjects." General Winters stood. Some world leaders want to surrender hoping for better treatment. Others want to fight even though we're outmatched. Major Ridgway has a different approach. Ridgway took a deep breath. Fighting them head-on would be suicide. Their weapons technology is centuries ahead of ours. But I discovered something on their ship. A weakness. He showed a diagram of the Council's communication system. The Council ships operate on a shared neural network. Their species evolved as collective thinkers. They've never faced a serious military threat, so they've never needed strong security in their systems. A new face appeared on one of the screens. A young man with disheveled brown hair and intense eyes. "This is Kyle Nichols," Ridgway said. "Former hacker now working with our cyber defense team. Kyle, tell them what you found." Nichols spoke quickly. "I've been analyzing the data Major Ridgway brought back. The Council network has amazing capabilities but primitive security. It's like having a mansion with no locks on the doors. They've never needed them." Dr. Olivia Ross stepped forward. The weapons scientist had barely left her lab in the past week. "We've also discovered something extraordinary about human brains, compared to Council species." She displayed brain scan comparisons. Council species, especially the Tholians, have highly synchronized brain patterns. It helps them connect to their neural technology. Human brains are much more chaotic and individualistic. Our brainwaves actually disrupt their systems when in close proximity. Ridgway pointed to the largest Council ship on the main screen. "We have 72 hours before their quarantine is complete, then they'll begin landing forces. We can't match their firepower, so we need to be smarter." He outlined his plan. Instead of attacking the Council fleet directly, a small team would infiltrate the command ship. They would use human brain patterns, amplified by devices Dr. Ross had created, to disrupt the neural network. Meanwhile, Earth forces would launch a diversionary attack. "This is extremely risky," General Winters said. "If you're captured, Earth loses its best chance at resistance." "We have no choice," Ridgway replied. "Every hour more Council ships arrive. We won't get another opportunity." As the meeting ended, Captain Allison Wade approached Ridgway. She had escaped from the Council ship 2 days after Ridgway, leading a group of human prisoners in a daring breakout. "I just received word from our spy satellites," she said quietly. "The Council is bringing in harvest ships, the kind they used on other worlds." Ridgway's face hardened. "How long?" 4 days at most," Wade replied. "I've seen what they did to the prisoners, Matt. We can't let that happen to Earth." Later that evening, Ridgway sat alone in his quarters reviewing the mission plans. Someone knocked on his door. "Come in," he called. Dr. Green entered. The xenobiologist looked exhausted. "Major, I've completed analyzing the biological samples from the Council ship. I found something interesting." He placed a folder on Ridgway's desk. "The Tholians are dying out. Their reproductive system is failing. That's why they're harvesting other species." "For what? Slave labor?" Ridgway asked. "No," Green said. "Genetic material. They're trying to incorporate traits from other species to save themselves, and human DNA has something unique they desperately want." Ridgway opened the folder and read the report. "Adaptability genes." "Exactly," Green said. "Humans adapt to new environments faster than any species they've encountered. Our immune systems, our ability to live in different climates, our genetic diversity. The Tholians want to use it to save themselves." A knock interrupted them. Lieutenant Powell stood in the doorway, his face pale. "Sir, we just intercepted a Council transmission. I think you need to see this." Powell played the message on Ridgway's screen. The translation appeared below the alien symbols. "Harvest of humans should focus on military personnel first. This species is unique in our catalog. They are the only civilization we have encountered with the concept of warfare. Most species evolved through purely cooperative means. Humans represent a potential security threat unlike any before. The architect requires special specimens. For direct study." Ridgway and Green exchanged looks. "They're afraid of us," Ridgway said slowly. "Not because of our technology, but because we think differently." He stood and gathered the mission plans. "Tell the team to prepare. We leave in 6 hours." As Green left, Ridgway looked at the picture on his desk. It showed him with his squad from his early military days. Young faces, smiling despite the danger they faced daily. They picked the wrong species to harvest, he whispered. The experimental stealth ship Nightshade drifted silently through space. Its black surface absorbed light rather than reflected it. Inside, Major Matthew Ridgway checked his equipment one final time. The small vessel carried 8 people, the absolute minimum needed for the mission. Approaching Council Defense Perimeter, said Commander William Hayes from the pilot's seat. Hayes was the best pilot in Earth's Space Force, chosen specifically for his ability to navigate through tight spots. Ridgway moved to the front viewport. Dozens of Council ships formed a web around Earth. Their blue energy fields pulsed as they communicated with each other through the neural network. Everyone remember the plan, Ridgway said to his team. We get aboard the command vessel, split into 2 groups and carry out our objectives. Captain Wade will lead the team to free the human captives. My team plants the disruptor virus in their central neural hub. Sergeant Danielle Murphy checked her pulse rifle. The Marine had fought in 3 conflicts on Earth and had extensive training in zero-gravity combat. What if the brainwave disruptors don't work? Dr. Olivia Ross adjusted the small devices they would wear on their heads. They'll work. These amplify the natural interference human brain patterns create in their systems. Just get me within 50 meters of their main neural hub. Lieutenant Powell monitored Council communications. Sir, they're starting a major attack on the Asian Defense Fleet. Earth forces are engaging. That's our diversion, Ridgway said. Hayes, take us in. Everyone strap in. The Nightshade accelerated toward the massive command vessel. Earth forces had launched a coordinated attack on the opposite side of the planet, drawing most Council ships away from their position. Hayes expertly guided the ship through debris from earlier skirmishes. The Nightshade's engines were specially designed to leave no heat signature. To Council sensors, they would appear as just another piece of space junk. Approaching docking zone, Hayes announced. There's damage to the hull from earlier fighting. We can use it as cover. The ship slipped into a massive gash on the side of the Council vessel. Hayes maneuvered into position beside what looked like a maintenance airlock. Ridgway turned to Kyle Nichols. You're up. The young hacker connected, his equipment to the airlock's control panel. His fingers flew across the keyboard. Their security is laughable. It's like they never expected anyone to try breaking in. The airlock door slid open. Red emergency lights illuminated the corridor beyond. Suit up, Ridgway ordered. The team put on their helmets and checked their weapons. Remember, avoid killing if possible. Many species in the Council are just following orders. Our target is the leadership in their systems, not the average crew member. They moved through the airlock in pairs. The Council ship was enormous, at least 20 kilometers long. Inside, the corridors twisted in strange patterns that seemed to follow no logical design. The architecture was built for beings with different proportions than humans. Powell, which way? Ridgway asked. The lieutenant consulted his tablet. The central hub should be 2 levels up and 3 sections forward. Captain Wade, the detention area is 4 levels down. Ridgway nodded to Wade. Good luck. We meet back at the ship in 90 minutes. Don't be late, Wade replied before leading her team down a different corridor. Ridgway's group moved cautiously through the ship. They encountered few crew members at first. Those they did see were smaller aliens who fled at the sight of armed humans. The brainwave disruptors seemed to be working, creating confusion in the neural network around them. This is too easy, Murphy whispered as they climbed to the next level. Where are the security forces? As if answering her question, an alarm began to sound. Strange symbols flashed on the walls around them. Powell? Ridgway looked at his communications. Officer. They know we're here, Powell said, reading the alien text. Security drones deploying. From side passages, metal spheres the size of basketballs rolled into view. They unfolded into spider-like robots with multiple limbs ending in different tools. Move, Ridgway shouted. The team ran down the corridor as the security drones pursued them. Murphy turned and fired her rifle, destroying 2 drones. The others kept coming. They reached a large circular chamber with multiple exits. In the center stood a glowing blue column that reached from floor to ceiling. That's it, Dr. Ross said. The neural hub interface. I need 2 minutes to plant the virus. You've got it, Ridgway said. He, Murphy, and Powell took up defensive positions as Ross and Nichols worked on the hub. The security drones poured into the room. Murphy's rifle took down several more. Powell used sonic grenades that disrupted the drone's systems. Ridgway fired precisely, hitting the weak spots in the drone's design. Almost done, Ross called. She attached a small device to the glowing column. The virus is uploading. Suddenly the drones stopped attacking. They froze in place, then collapsed to the floor. It's working, Nichols said, checking his tablet. The virus is spreading through their network. A door on the far side of the chamber slid open. A slender alien figure stepped through, different from the Tholians they had seen before. This one had pale green skin and large, expressive eyes. It wore no weapons. Humans, the alien said in perfect English. I am Vexalia, Sub-Minister of Internal Affairs. I've been expecting you. Ridgway aimed his weapon at the alien. Are you here to stop us? No, Vexalia said. I'm here to help you. Not all of us agree with the Council's harvesting program. Some of us believe it violates the original purpose of our alliance. Why should we trust you? Murphy asked, her rifle still trained on the alien. Because I can take you to the Architect, Vexalia said. The true leader of the Council. The one who has ordered the harvesting of countless worlds. Ridgway hesitated. This wasn't part of the plan. We need to return to our ship. Our mission is complete. Your virus will cause temporary disruption only, Vexalia said. The Architect's personal neural link will override it within hours. If you want to truly save your world, you must confront him directly. Powell's communication device beeped. Sir, message from Captain Wade. They've freed the human captives and taken control of a Council transport ship. They're heading back to Earth with critical intelligence. Ridgway made his decision. Murphy, take Ross and Nichols back to the Nightshade. Powell and I will go with Vexalia. Sir, that's not the plan, Murphy protested. Plans change, Sergeant, Ridgway said. If Vexalia is telling the truth, this might be our only chance to end this conflict quickly. If not, he checked his weapon. Then Powell and I will deal with it. As Murphy led the others back toward the airlock, Vexalia guided Ridgway and Powell deeper into the ship. They traveled in a transport tube that moved vertically and horizontally through the massive vessel. The Architect is ancient, Vexalia explained. He has led the Council for over 1,000 years. He is connected to all Council ships through the neural network. That is how he controls everything. The tube stopped at a section of the ship that seemed older than the rest. The walls were made of a different material, darker and more solid. The sanctum, Vexalia said. No one enters without permission. The doors opened to reveal a vast chamber. In the center, suspended in a glowing field, was a Tholian much larger than Ambassador Krizak's. Tubes and wires connected its body to the ship itself. Its forearms moved constantly, controlling unseen systems. The Architect, Vexalia whispered. The ancient being turned its massive head toward them. Its black eyes focused on Ridgway. Major Matthew Ridgway, the Architect said in a deep, resonant voice. The human who dares to fight back. I have been waiting for you. The Architect's chamber felt ancient. The air was thick and smelled like old books. Major Matthew Ridgway stood firm despite the strange feeling in his stomach. The massive Tholian floated in the center, connected to the ship by dozens of tubes and wires. Lieutenant Powell stayed close behind Ridgway, hand on his weapon. You know my name, Ridgway said, keeping his voice steady. Then you know why I'm here. To save your world, the Architect replied. His voice echoed through the chamber. A noble but futile effort. Ridgway studied the ancient being. The Architect was much larger than other Tholians, with skin that seemed almost transparent. Through it, Ridgway could see a network of glowing blue veins pulsing with energy. Our virus is already spreading through your network, Ridgway said. Your ships are losing connection to each other. The Architect made a sound like distant thunder. Ridgway realized it was laughter, a temporary inconvenience. I have lived for 15 of your centuries, human. I have seen civilizations rise and fall. Your virus is clever, but I am already adapting to it. Screens appeared in the air around them. They showed Earth forces engaging council ships. In some areas, Earth vessels were successfully disabling alien craft whose defenses had been weakened by the virus. But in other sectors, council ships were already regaining control. Your resistance is the strongest we have encountered in many cycles, the architect said. This is why your species is so valuable to us. Vexalia stepped forward. Tell them the truth, architect. Tell them why we really came to Earth. The architect's black eyes narrowed. Subminister Vexalia, your sympathy for lesser species was always your weakness. Lesser species? Powell muttered angrily. The council was not formed for peace, the architect said, ignoring Powell. That story is for children and new members. The council began as a survival mechanism for my kind. Images appeared on the screen showing the history of the Tholians. A beautiful world with towering crystal cities. Then disaster, a nearby star going supernova, bathing their planet in radiation. The radiation changed us, the architect continued. We gained intelligence and technological ability, but lost something crucial. We can no longer reproduce naturally. Ridgway remembered what Dr. Green had told him. So you harvest genetic material from other species. We do what is necessary to survive, the architect said. For 1,000 years we have found compatible species and integrated useful genetic traits, but none have been perfect. The screens showed various alien species, some Ridgway recognized from the council ship, others completely foreign. Then we discovered humans, the architect said. The screens showed Earth, observed from orbit over many decades. Your kind adapts more quickly than any species we have encountered. Your genetic structure allows for rapid mutation and adaptation to new environments. You've been studying us for years, Ridgway said, understanding dawning. The abductions, the experiments. Necessary. Research, the architect replied. Human adaptability could solve our reproductive crisis permanently. We would no longer need to harvest other worlds. Vexalia moved closer to Ridgway. The architect plans to take millions of humans for processing. Entire cities would be emptied. Ridgway felt cold anger rising within him. That will never happen. The architect's forearms moved in complex patterns. New screens appeared showing Earth's defenses, weaknesses, population centers. Your choice is simple, Major Ridgway. You can agree to our terms. Volunteer participation from a small percentage of your population in exchange for advanced technology. Or you can resist and we will take what we need by force. Ridgway's communicator beeped. He kept his eyes on the architect as he answered it. Ridgway here. Sir, it's Captain Wade. We've secured the human captives and taken control of a council transport ship. We've discovered something important in their research databases. Go ahead, Ridgway said. The Tholians can't process human genetic material effectively. Most of their experiments have failed. The scientists here were about to report that humans aren't compatible with their reproductive systems. Ridgway looked at the architect with new understanding. You don't need millions of humans. You can't even use our genetic material. Your scientists have already determined we're incompatible. The architect's skin changed color, darkening at the edges. A temporary setback. With enough subjects, we will find a solution. Vexalia gasped. You knew? You knew the experiments were failing and still planned to harvest their world. For the survival of our species, any action is justified, the architect said. Another message came through on Ridgway's communicator. It was General Winters. Major, Earth forces have made progress against council ships affected by your virus. Admiral Bennett found a way to temporarily disrupt their shields. We're boarding and capturing several vessels. Very good, General, Ridgway replied. Keep pushing the advantage. The architect moved within his suspension field. The tubes connected. To his body pulsed faster. Enough of this, he said. His voice had changed, becoming harder, more mechanical. I see you will not be reasonable, Major Ridgway. The chamber trembled. Red lights began flashing on the walls. What are you doing? Vexalia demanded. Initiating final protocol, the architect said. If we cannot have Earth's genetic material, no one will. I have sent the command to all Council vessels. Self-destruct sequences are now active in all ships in orbit around Earth. Powell checked his tablet, his face pale. Sir, he's not bluffing. We're picking up massive energy buildups in all Council ships. If they all explode in Earth orbit, the debris alone would devastate your world, the architect said. The energy release will destroy your civilization. Ridgway stepped closer to the ancient alien. Override it now. I cannot, the architect said. The command is final. In 30 of your minutes, the Council fleet will be destroyed, and with it your world's future. Vexalia moved to a control panel. There must be a way to stop it. Only through my direct neural connection, the architect said, and I will not provide it. Ridgway's mind raced. They needed to warn Earth to evacuate as many people as possible. But even if they could, the destruction of so many massive ships in orbit would cause catastrophic damage to the planet below. His communicator beeped again. Major, it's Lieutenant Martinez. My Special Forces team has secured the engineering section of one of the Council ships. Their systems are in chaos. What are your orders? Ridgway looked at the architect, then at Vexalia, who was frantically working at the control panel. Find their self-destruct system and figure out how to disable it, Ridgway ordered. We have less than 30 minutes before every Council ship explodes. Sir, Powell said quietly. Even if we get back to the Nightshade, we'll never escape the blast radius in time. Ridgway nodded. I know. He looked at the screens showing Earth, blue and green and beautiful. His home. The world he had sworn to protect. We're not leaving, Ridgway said. We're going to stop this. He turned to face the architect. You've existed for centuries by taking from others. Today that ends. The ancient Tholian's black eyes stared back at him. You cannot stop what I have set in motion, human. In 28 minutes it will all be over. The clock was ticking. 28 minutes until the Council ships exploded in Earth's orbit. Major Matthew Ridgway stared at the architect, the ancient being who had ordered the destruction of countless worlds. There must be a way to stop the self-destruct, Ridgway said to Vexalia, who was still working frantically at the control panel. The command is locked to the architect's neural signature, she replied. Only he can cancel it. The architect floated in his suspension field, watching them with cold black eyes. Your efforts are wasted, human, accept your fate. Ridgway's communicator beeped. Major, it's Dr. Green. Captain Wade brought the freed prisoners to the Earth Defense Fleet. I've been examining the Tholian research data she recovered. Make it quick, Doctor, Ridgway said. We're running out of time. The architect isn't just connected to the ships, Green explained. He's biologically linked to the entire system. His body is the central processor. That's how he's lived so long. Ridgway looked at the tubes connecting the architect to the A ship. Can we disconnect him? Not without killing him, Green said. But there might be another way. The data shows his neural system has a safety protocol. If his connection becomes too unstable, the system will automatically enter a safe mode to protect his consciousness. Powell moved closer to Ridgway. Sir, we could use our brainwave disruptors at maximum power. Dr. Ross said human brain patterns interfere with their neural network. Ridgway nodded. Dr. Green, if we disrupt the architect's neural connection, would that stop the self-destruct? Possibly, Green replied. The system would prioritize protecting the architect over all other commands. Ridgway turned to Vexalia. We need to get closer to him. The alien hesitated. What you're suggesting could damage him permanently. It's him or my entire planet, Ridgway said firmly. After a moment, Vexalia nodded and pressed a sequence on the control panel. The floor beneath them began to rise, forming a platform that elevated them to the architect's level. What are you doing? The architect demanded. His forearms moved in agitation. Saving my world, Ridgway answered. He and Powell removed their brainwave disruptors and adjusted the settings to maximum power. The architect's skin darkened with anger. Guards! Security breach in the sanctum! Doors slid open around the chamber. Tholian guards rushed in, weapons ready. At the same time, Ridgway's communicator beeped again. Sir, Lieutenant Martinez here. We've boarded several council ships and engaged their crews. Admiral Bennett's fleet is providing cover. Keep pushing, Ridgway ordered. We need every second you can give us. He turned to Powell. Ready? Powell nodded. They activated the disruptors at the same moment. The devices hummed with power, emitting waves of energy that made the air shimmer. The architect writhed in his suspension field. Stop this immediately! The blue veins beneath his skin pulsed erratically. The Tholian guards fired their weapons. Energy beams streaked across the chamber. Vex'ahlia pushed Ridgway aside as a beam passed where he had been standing. Powell ducked, behind a control panel still holding his disruptor steady. It's working, Vex'ahlia shouted, pointing to the screens around them. The countdown timers on the council ships were fluctuating, some pausing, others slowing down. The architect's movements became more violent. Enough! His voice boomed through the chamber. With a massive effort, he extended one arm toward a control panel built into his suspension field. He's overriding the safety protocols, Vex'ahlia warned. Ridgway knew they needed more power. He looked around desperately and saw a junction box where several energy conduits connected to the architect's suspension field. Powell, cover me, Ridgway shouted as he sprinted toward the junction box. Powell emerged from cover and fired his weapon at the Tholian guards, forcing them to take cover. Ridgway reached the junction box and attached his disruptor directly to the power source. The device sparked and glowed as it absorbed the ship's energy. The effect was immediate. The architect convulsed as waves of human brain patterns flooded his neural connection. What? What are you doing to me? The architect gasped. His skin had turned almost transparent. Warning alarms blared throughout the chamber. Vex'ahlia worked frantically at the main control panel. The system is entering safe mode, she announced. The self-destruct commands are being overridden. The architect struggled against the disruption. You cannot. I am the council. I have existed for centuries. Dr. Green's voice came through Ridgway's communicator. Major, the data suggests there's a way to separate the architect from the system without killing him. There's a primary connection node at the base of his suspension field. Ridgway spotted the node, a glowing blue cylinder where the largest tubes entered the architect's body. What happens if we disconnect it? Ridgway asked. His consciousness will remain intact, but his control over the council systems will end, Green explained. The Tholian guards were regrouping, preparing for another attack. Time was running out. Vex'ahlia, Ridgway called. Is there a way to safely disconnect the architect from the system? She hesitated only briefly before nodding. Yes, there is an emergency protocol, but it has never been used. Do it, Ridgway ordered. Vex'ahlia entered a complex sequence into the control panel. The suspension field around the architect began to pulse with a different rhythm. Disconnection sequence initiated, she announced, but it needs authorization from a council member of sufficient rank. She placed her hand on a scanner beside the panel. I, Subminister Vex'ahlia, authorize the separation protocol. The architect's eyes widened. No, you cannot. I forbid it. But it was too late. The tubes connected to the architect's body began to detach one by one. The blue energy flowing through them slowed and stopped. The ancient Tholian's body shuddered as centuries of connection to the council systems came to an end. The countdown, timers on all screens froze, then disappeared. The alarms fell silent. Self-destruct sequence aborted on all vessels, Vex'ahlia confirmed. The architect floated in his suspension field, smaller somehow without the network's power flowing through him. For the first time, he looked old and tired. What have you done? He whispered. Ridgway stepped forward. Saved my world. And maybe yours too. He turned to his communicator. Admiral Bennett, what's the status of the fleet? Earth forces have secured 12 council vessels, Bennett replied. The rest are in disarray without central control. They've ceased hostile actions. The Tholian guards had lowered their weapons, looking confused without orders from the neural network. Ridgway faced the architect again. Here's my proposal. Humans will help solve your reproductive crisis, but as equals, not as subjects for harvesting. The council will be reformed with Earth having equal representation. and all the species you've enslaved will be freed. Why would I agree to this? The architect asked, his voice weaker than before. Because the alternative is extinction, Ridgway said simply. For both our species. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Finally, the architect spoke. Perhaps we have become stagnant through dominance. The challenge your species presents. He paused. It has been a long time since the Council faced true change. 6 months later, Major Matthew Ridgway stood in the newly constructed Council chambers. Representatives from 25 species, including the formerly enslaved ones, sat in a circular arrangement. Earth's seat was between the Tholians and a species called the Neridians. The architect, now disconnected from the neural network but still alive, had retired to the Tholian homeworld. Vexalia had become the new Tholian representative. The new Cooperation Treaty has been ratified by all member worlds, the Council speaker announced. The era of harvesting has ended. A new age of genuine cooperation begins today. After the session, Vexalia approached Ridgway. Your scientists have made remarkable progress with our reproductive issues. The first successful birth in 3 generations will occur next month, Ridgway nodded. And the technology you've shared has already helped cure several human diseases. Vexalia's large eyes studied him. The architect was wrong about many things, but he was right about one. Humans are unique. Your capacity for both conflict and cooperation is unlike anything we've seen before. Ridgway looked out at the stars visible through the council chambers. Large windows. Earth shone brightly among them. We had to learn the hard way that sometimes you have to fight for peace, he said. I'm just glad the Galactic Council finally understands that too.